Welcome to Apple Tree Teachings. In this video, you will learn about how to love yourself. Before you look at this video, you should look at my other video I made about a month ago. It's titled, Unloving Gifts You Receive on Conception. After watching that video, you will have a better understanding of this video that you're about to watch now. Please subscribe so you can get the next video, and also share it with your friends. There's so much information here to be discovered. Most people will live and die and not discover it. Thank you for watching this video. When things are happening in your life, you have to remember not to blame anyone. It's very, very important not to blame anyone. Everything that happens to you is an event. Event could be happy, events could be sad, and events could be upsetting. Whatever the case, events tell you a lot about yourself. This is where your learning begins, when events are happening to you. Now, when you take a look at it, here you are. Boy or girl. Let's put some hair. Events are happening to you. Okay? Call these events. Okay? Now, you can have an issue at school. Let's change the color. You can have an issue in school. You can have an issue with your mother. You can have an issue with your dad. You can have an issue with your boss, your grandparents. Okay? And more issues will keep coming your way. You can have an issue with your spouse. You can have an issue with your children. You can have an issue with your neighbor. But if you notice, all these issues are events. These are events. 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 These are all events. I'll just put an E for you to understand. These are all events. Now, at the end of every event, there is always a, let me change colors here. There is always a person or people. Person or people. At the end of every event, there's always a person or people. But how do you feel? What's going through you? And that's something that you're going to have to understand. The emotions that are going through you is anger. What else is going through you? Rage, sorrow. What else do you think is going through you? Okay, there's jealousy, there's self-worth. What did I say before? It was jealousy, right? Jealousy. Is that how to spell it? I hope so. I'm not the greatest speller, but you get the understanding. And what else is there? There's a lot of hate. What other emotions could come out of this? You know, you can have regret. Could be depression. But all those emotions are facing you when these events are happening. Remember, at the end of every event, there's a person or people. Always. And you're going to have to understand that concept. Let's get rid of this. here's where you're going to have to pay attention. Here you are as a person. Let's just take a girl. Now, in your circle of life, where do you get your teachings from? You get your teachings from your mom, your dad, your grandparents, your teacher, your brother, sister, friend. This is where you get your teachings from. If I put a circle around this, wherever you go, your parents go as a child. If your parents go to, let's say, the grocery store, you go to the grocery store. If your parents go to the mall, you go to the mall. If your parents eat rice or noodles, let's say pasta, or roti, you will eat these things also. Now, your teachings come from this circle. That's how you get your learnings. From a child, everywhere you go, wherever your parents go, you go. You're going to get your teachings from there. Now, how else would you learn? There's nothing wrong with your hardware. There's something wrong with your software. You are being programmed as a child. You can only reflect and regurgitate the environment in which you come from. And your parents are the ones who set the environment. So your teachings and learnings will come from your environment. Where else would you get your learnings from? There is no other place to get the learnings from. If your parents move, you will move with them. And whoever's in your surroundings, that's what you will learn. But my friend, you have to discover that's not who you are defined to be. These are your parents' surroundings on you. Now, if a person takes, say, 25 to 35 years to write a book, it doesn't matter what the book is. The book could be about a recipe. The book could be about a bicycle. The book could be about a autobiography. The book could be about, about gardening. It could be about space. It does not matter what the book is about. The thought is, a person takes 25 to 35 years to write a book. Now, you could take, now that book is put in the library. You could take that book and in 1 week you can have that experience. Isn't that right? So basically, if you can see here, so here's a book. Okay. There are so many authors that have left so many wonderful things in the library or in a book. But it's up to you to discover these things that you need. So what happens if, let's make some more books. Consider these to be books. Okay, consider these to be books. Now, what happens if you take a book off the shelf that an author took 25 to 35 years to create? In 1 week, you could have that experience. Would you not? It wouldn't take you 25 to 35 years to have that experience. You can actually read that experience and in 1 week have that knowledge. So if you take this book and you bring it into your life itself, let's say to you. You can have that experience. If you take another week, you bring another book into your surrounding, you can have another experience. And the same goes with another book, and another book, and another book. In 4 weeks, you can have about 100 years worth of experience. Isn't that amazing? Each one of these people took 25 to 35, even 45 to 55 years to make. You know how long it takes to make a book. You go through school, go through the steps. It takes you time to edit it and put it out there. The only reason why you're writing the book is because you want to share something. But you just have to take that book off the shelf, bring it into your life, and now your life is enhanced. You have a much broader way of thinking and understanding. The more experiences you bring into your life, you're loving yourself. See, your parents couldn't do this. Your surrounding couldn't do this. It's because all these things you're reading, every book has the perfect sentence, the right punctuations, the right commas, the right sentence structure, the right grammar. It gives you suspense. It gives you animation. It gives you a structure as to how to think. It gives you knowledge about people and situations and scenarios. See, your friends can't do that. Your surroundings can't do that. You have to want to see how the outside world can come into your world. And if you don't do this, you will only learn from the surroundings that your parents gave you. And eventually you'll break out on your own, but you're so addicted to your parents' addictions that you will continue the life like them. And that's another video I'll show you on. But the more experiences you take on the shelf, you grab off the shelf, it's amazing how you're loving yourself. If you read a book about plants and flowers, you have something to give your future family. Without reading that, your child comes up to you and say, "Dad, Mom, what are perennials?" "I don't know." Go ask your mother or go ask your father. Look it up. See, the thing is that you can't give your children something you don't have. It's impossible. You have to, if you don't have love in yourself, how can you give that love to someone else? It's literally impossible. You have to want to improve yourself constantly. If your child asks you, "Dad, can you make some Portuguese chicken?" "Well, no, go tell your mom. I don't know how to do it." You don't have it to give your child. How can your child get that love from you? But if you're 15, 20, 25, 35 years old and you don't know how to cook, or you don't know how to cook more food than the 5 foods that your parents taught you that you learned when you were young, well, you can only give what you have. If you don't clean your house, only your parents are cleaning it, and you're a male child, then when you get married, you don't have that love, that understanding to give your wife. You're going to need to be nurtured all your life. Now, that's not fair to her. Love can't produce unloving events. If you don't stop and think of what you're doing in your life, how you're putting love in yourself, if you don't put love in yourself, then how can you give love to someone else? It's impossible. The more you love yourself, you have love to give. And eventually what's going to happen is that you're going to meet people and you will feel from them their unlovingness. Because as you engage in conversation, you will realize that they don't have much worth, because they don't spend enough time investing in themselves to learn. Whatever you are, your children will copy and regurgitate the same thing that you are. You cannot give your spouse or your children something you don't have. It's literally impossible. you have to want to improve yourself. So all these books, if you want to learn about cooking, a certain recipe, instead of looking at the cooking channel all the time, flipping the channel saying, oh, that's a really great recipe, well, why don't you cook that recipe? Most people just watched it and make comments. Why don't you cook it? If you cook it and learn how to make it better and better, then eventually your child will come to you and say, Dad, Mom, this is the best Brazilian rice. Dad, it's amazing how that jerk chicken came out. See, you have something to give your child. You have something to give your spouse. You can't give your family or friends or acquaintance something you don't have. It's impossible. 99% of people that are married are not in love with each other. They only what? They only teach themselves to stay together. Yes, teach themselves. And when children are involved, they try to make the relationship work, but they're not in love with each other. But the children can only see the unlovingness, and eventually what will happen is that they will copy that and reflect it. And then they will have the same life. Because you can't give your kids something you don't have. If you don't have love, how can you give your kids? If the kids are seeing the unlovingness all the time, they only have unlovingness coming from you. Do you understand how this works? It's just like how many families, they're calling their children and they say, yes, I'm coming, but they don't come. It's because they're not acknowledging you. If they're not acknowledging you, a child could never make a mistake. It's impossible. They can only reflect and copy and regurgitate the environment that the parent is giving. There's nothing wrong with the hardware, there's something wrong with the software. The child is being programmed. Well, let's take a look at the parents. If the parents are bickering with each other, arguing all the time, the parents are not acknowledging each other. They're not respecting each other. So if the child, if you're 1, and then 5, and then 8, and then 10, and then 15, and you have observed this for such a long time, well then you're learning how to not acknowledge. It's the program. That's all your parents, the environment the parents is giving is to not acknowledge. But when the child doesn't acknowledge, they get punished. Do as I say, but not as I do. You have to understand, you have to love yourself. Parents don't even know that they don't even love themselves. So how could they give you that love? How could a spouse give another spouse love if you're not born with love? It's impossible. You have to want to know how to love yourself. So the more you bring books into your life, you're gathering experience. You're gathering knowledge. You become more worthful. But if you decide not to read, then where are you getting your experiences from? Your friends. But your friends are already in the same circle. You have to want to be interested and have a desire to learn more than what your surroundings is currently giving you. You have to want it. If you want a loving relationship, you have to put love inside yourself in order for you to be able to give that love to someone. If you don't have love inside yourself, in the absence of love is unlovingness. So you only have addictions to give the other person. That's the reason why when most people are dating, they get dumped. Because if love is not inside you, well, what are you dating for? You're only dating someone's addictions. A guy sees a girl, she's pretty, hot, and all of a sudden his addictions are filled. A girl sees a guy, he's cute, he's got a car, or a nice job, her addictions are filled. When two people's addictions no longer meet each other, agree with each other, hasta la vista, you're gone, next. And it will keep happening over and over because love is not in yourself. You cannot give something to someone, you cannot give it if you don't have it. They cannot give it if they don't have it. Does that make sense? So the more you put books into your life, the more you're loving yourself. Now, the experiences you read about, the more you are becoming more than what your parents are. So the more experiences that come into your life, you're becoming more than what your parents are. You are now a different person. Does that make sense? This video could go on and on with a lengthy topic, but I'm going to stop it here because I do want to elaborate on a few points which will make it longer in the next few videos. But if you have any questions, please let me know, and also subscribe and share this with your friends. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching Apple Tree Teachings.